Welcome to Library Life. I'm Amanda Jackson, director of the Chesapeake Public Library, and with me today is my special guest, Howie Bajiro. You're with the South Norfolk Library, and you've got something pretty exciting.
Yes, I am with South Norfolk, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the Poetry Showcase.
So, April is National Poetry Month,
That is,
and a lot of people have the idea that poetry is boring, which I always like to, when I go to the kids' classrooms, I always like to ask who enjoys poetry, and then nobody raises their hand. And then I read them some Shel Silverstein, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's so fun.
yeah.
Poetry's for anybody.
Yes, it totally is. I mean, there's all different kinds of poems. I mean, poetry has been written throughout all of history, so you can definitely find something that's just for you. I mean, if you can't figure it out, come to the library, ask me, I'll help you figure it out.
All right. So, what kind of things, like, give me some examples of what types of poetry we might be able to discover at the library?
We can go all the way back to the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer. Um, those are epic poems. We could even go into Spanish literature, which is one of my fortes, studying things like Garcia Lorca, the Surrealist movement in Spain. We have literature in many different languages. I mean, there's really something for everyone, and even down to Shel Silverstein. I work in the YFS section, and for kids, I'm always like, if you don't know what to read, totally try this one right here because it's great. Like I'm being eaten by a boa constrictor, and I don't like it one bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if you have to dry the dishes and you drop one on the floor, I always love to read that one. So, you're also a poet.
Yes, I am. I've been writing my whole life. I it's one of those things I don't like to tell people, but I do love it. I don't know. I always felt a little weird about telling people because there is sort of a stigma against poetry. People do tend to think that it's going to be, roses are red, violets are blue, or how do I love thee? Let me describe the ways. But there's so much more to it than that. I mean, it really is like a cathartic exercise for moving through like trauma in your life, or for just people who find it difficult to express themselves in normal everyday language. Poetry is an amazing way to evoke those emotions and share them with others.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because a lot of times people think poetry is this highbrow thing, and we learn like the iambic pentameter and it's all
Hmm.
this stuff. But also, when you start thinking about rap and hip hop, that's poetry.
Yes.
Poetry is like any kind of art. There's so many different variations of it. It's just
Hmm.
the way that we choose to express ourselves. So you brought a poem with you today.
Yes, I did. I was recently published by Warm Milk Publishing, and this is the poem that I have. It's entitled April 21st, 1986. Now, I'm not one of those people who can like memorize their work. I've always wished that I could be, but I have to have it written in front of me. So,
I would love for you to read this.
okay, cool. April 21st, 1986. The day Geraldo Rivera shot himself on live TV. Mother began as was customary prayer, meal, wash, rinse, repeat. The heat from the boiler underneath, itchy scalp. I hadn't yet showered. Channel 10 News, Geraldo to open Capone's vault. Note to self, must find spats. Army Navy surplus supply? I scratched and stared at my mother. Dishes grew from her hands, it seemed. Her starched dress held her erect. I stared at her short blonde curls. Even the hair isn't real. 30 years later, how else would I learn dedication? Another close up on his big old mustache. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lexington Hotel. Skin spots from years of living in the tropics, beauty marks to an island woman. She really was spectacular. Could she handle this? Faith. Faith was our wall. It was our great wall. Our lies and hopes were dead men buried inside. Faith kept the breath in her lungs. Faith left me alone in a beat up car with no gas, lost. Faith left me with the next John and the next. Faith left me without a mother. Mamá, necesitamos hablar, por favor. Siéntese. Tell me standing. So I did, I told her. And she stood. She didn't look, she just stared. She stared at Geraldo on the 9-inch black and white kitchen TV that rested on the miniature shelf my father made for her. She kept it there to remind herself of him, of the days when we made flan and tres leches and ate together. How I begged for cans of leftover condensed milk. Her eyes never left his body, his hand, as he opened that door to Al Capone's vault. But it was empty.
Wow, that was so great.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, obviously. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. It's
Thank you.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And what a great way to incorporate your feelings, your heritage, native language. So beautiful. That's the beauty of poetry is that it touches all of us.
Hmm. It's amazing what, like, having the ability to create art with just something so simple and mundane as language.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? They're just words and sounds that when you put them together and it means something, it can create like an art that will evoke something out of someone. I don't know. I just love the way that Language can do that to a person.
And that's one of the reasons that we celebrate that. So, the library, one of our missions is to empower people for those moments of discovery, and that discovery is often tied to art. So,
Mhm.
all of April, we'll be doing events at South Norfolk, we'll be
Mhm.
doing events throughout all of our branches to celebrate the art that is poetry, to encourage people to read different poems, to find their voice in some kind of way.
Yep, and we will have plenty of books of poetry on display. I'm working on some displays right now so that we can even share what all the librarians like, so that people can, if they don't even know a poem to read, and just go over here and you'll see these are the ones that we like. And yeah, there's a lot. There's also the Children's Poetry Slam that's coming up. That's going to be the day before the poetry showcase for adults. That is going to be, the adult is the 24th of April, and then the day before, on the 23rd, is going to be the children's one. So if you have kids that love poetry and love writing, it's definitely a great opportunity to, come and let them share themselves with the rest.
Absolutely, to help them find their voice in that
Mm-hmm.
kind of way. So, if I needed more information, where could I get this?
ChesapeakeLibrary.org.
The best place. Tommy, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me have this
We hope that
opportunity.
you'll check out all of our events for National Poetry Month on ChesapeakeLibrary.org. Thank you for being with me today.